going on, YouTube? I'm the Mind Flayer Slayer.
And I'm Dr. DM, and today we're super excited because we're bringing you our first look and overview of Daggerheart, a brand new fantasy TTRPG from Critical Role and Darrington Press that's got the whole community buzzing.
So, if you're curious whether Daggerheart might replace your D20, buckle up. This one's going to be very interesting and maybe not at all what you expected.
So, for anyone new, Daggerheart is a collaborative fantasy role-playing game designed for your typical 3 to 6 players. It's all about weaving incredible tales filled with daring heroics, thrilling battles, and meaningful choices.
Right off the bat, what strikes me about Daggerheart is how beautifully it balances the epic storytelling portion with straightforward, streamlined mechanics.
Exactly. Daggerheart embraces narrative first, letting you dive into heroic adventures without getting bogged down by overly complex rules.
You've got your Game Master or GM guiding the story, creating challenges and playing your NPCs, non-playable characters, while everyone else is a player character, bringing unique personalities to life in this shared adventure.
One of the coolest features here in Daggerheart is the Duality dice system. I actually really like this.
Yeah.
Players roll 2 different colored D12 dice. One represents hope and the other fear. Your outcomes aren't just successes or failures. There's gradients of them depending on what you roll and whether the hope die is higher or the fear die is higher. And this ultimately changes the narrative mood depending on which die rolls higher.
It adds this extra emotional depth. Imagine narrowly defeating a villain but rolling high on your fear die. Suddenly your victory feels tense and ominous. The story constantly evolves in unpredictable ways by using these dice.
That's right, and that goes for the DM, or the GM, and the players. Now, let's talk about combat. Everyone loves combat. It's
Yes,
a mainstay
indeed.
of all TTRPGs, really. In Daggerheart, it's quick, fluid, and pretty cinematic. In this way, battles feel dynamic and exciting. This is perfect for groups who love fast-paced action mixed with rich storytelling, because in Daggerheart, you're really talking about kind of zones, whether somebody's close or far away in that theater of the mind sort of context.
Character creation is also a standout in Daggerheart. You've got amazing class options, from magical sorcerers channeling elemental chaos to fierce guardians protecting allies at any cost. The subclasses let you further tailor your hero to exactly the type of fantasy you love most. And I'm sure we're only going to be getting more of these as Matt Mercer creates them going down the line.
That's true, like he did with Blood Hunter for D&D, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, very creative. So let's talk about the classes just for a minute. Which one caught your eye?
I would say the Seraph's Wing Sentinel. Who doesn't want to fly around the battlefield and deliver crushing blows from above?
That is epic. Myself, I'm leaning towards the Rogue's Nightwalker, where you can control shadows and sneak around. You probably have to count me in for that kind of play style.
Absolutely. Another huge plus for Daggerheart is the emphasis on collaboration, not just among the players, but also between the players and the GM. It's clear the game wants you to build the world together. We're all about collaborative storytelling here at Green and Garb, and I love that this system is really encouraging that. It is something that you are doing together, because at the end of the day, I think that's what D&D or any TTRPG should be.
That's right. And in this case, GMs have loads of flexibility. They can make narrative-driven decisions rather than constantly referencing the rule book. It truly embodies the principle of rulings over rules, or rule of cool.
Absolutely.
Plus, you can see the love and thought behind the design in Daggerheart. The creators drew from inspirations of classics like Dungeons & Dragons, of course, and other innovative systems like Blades in the Dark, which is much beloved, and even narrative gems like The Quiet Year.
Not to mention influences from epic fantasies like Lord of the Rings and series such as The Witcher. If you're into any of these, you will find familiar yet refreshingly new elements in Daggerheart.
Overall, Daggerheart is a renovated take on heroic fantasy RPGs, emphasizing epic storytelling, player agency, and just enough unpredictability to keep every session thrilling.
If your group loves epic narratives, dramatic battles, and characters whose emotional journeys really matter as much as their sword swinging, this might be the perfect TTRPG for your next table game.
All right, now let's dive a little more into everyone's favorite thing, Daggerheart's character building mechanics.
First off, you're picking a class and a subclass, a classic. Are you a charismatic bard, captivating your friends, or maybe a stealthy rogue who slips through the shadows?
Every class gives you unique abilities and playstyles. Choose a subclass to refine your role, like the Ranger's Wayfarer for expert tracking, or the Wizard's School of War for battle-ready magic.
Next, you're going to choose your heritage, including your character's ancestry and community. Want to play as a sturdy dwarf from a subterranean underborn city, or perhaps a whimsical fairy from a lore-born library?
These choices give your character special features and help shape their personality and culture. In this case, it's not about stats, it's about who they are as characters.
100%. And then comes assigning your character's traits. You assign scores to 6 key traits. You've got agility, strength, finesse, instinct, presence, and knowledge.
And I like what they've done here a lot more than this is what D&D needs to do.
Yes.
They just have the modifier bonuses, +1, +2, +3. Instead of like having an 18, that's a +4.
It's so
doing the reverse
unnecessary.
math.
You don't need all of that.
D&D needs to do that for their
Simplify it.
6th edition.
I agree. Maybe you want high finesse for sneaking around or impressive presence to charm your way out of trouble. You've got numbers to distribute, making each character feel unique.
And these modifiers boost your dice rolls, making your character shine where it counts.
Then you'll be recording your hit points and stress. Think physical health and mental stamina. Evasion measures how hard you are to hit, keeping battles exciting and fluid.
Don't forget hope and fear, 2 special currencies determined by your dice rolls, adding dramatic twists to your adventure and sometimes more or less power to your characters and their classes.
Absolutely. The next thing that's new is going to be what's called experiences. These are characters' unique backstory skills like Royal Mage or Not on My Watch, giving bonuses to rolls when you spend hope from your hope die.
And the best part, if your character evolves beyond an experience, you can change it later.
Love
your
this.
heroes is always growing, just like your story.
Then you pick domain cards, which are special abilities from 2 themed decks based on your class, like Arcana and Midnight for a sorcerer. Each domain gives powerful, flavorful spells and moves.
And what I like about this, they come out on printed cards, or you can print them out from a PDF that you get as well, and you can mix and match them, so you can make a really unique character by taking domain cards from whatever domain makes the most sense to your character as you level up, and you have a ton of different domain cards, making a very unique character.
Coordinating with your party during the domain card choosing is going to help ensure everyone has unique abilities. It encourages teamwork and makes each character shine.
And finally, this is very important. Everyone should do this, and D&D should actually have this baked in as part of the rules, but they don't. But here, creating connections to other players is kind of part of the character building process.
Yeah.
It's like a session 0, but it's already baked into the system's rules. So questions that are posed are like, why do you trust me so deeply, character B? Or what secret past do we share, character C? That's a very important part of building characters.
Yeah. The connections are going to build your relationships right from session 1, laying a strong foundation for amazing storytelling moments and lots of drama.
So, Daggerheart's character creation process is intuitive, creative, and pretty player-driven. It genuinely puts storytelling at the forefront.
Next up, let's review some of the core mechanics of Daggerheart and compare them to D&D 5e.
First up, something Daggerheart calls the spotlight. Rather than rigid initiative and action economy from D&D 5e, Daggerheart uses a fluid, narrative-driven turn structure.
Exactly. Think of it like improv theater, which we're already a big fan of, obviously. The focus is going to shift naturally to whatever character is doing something cool instead of this rigid system. And unlike D&D, set turns and actions, bonus actions and reactions, Daggerheart is going to allow all of those things to happen and flow narratively.
Yeah, because in Daggerheart, all the players go at the same time.
Exactly.
So you can decide who to go and when and combo your abilities if you need to. And if you're a tactical player who loves structure, Daggerheart even has an optional spotlight tracker that does give player tokens representing actions, but that is totally optional.
And I do like that because sometimes if you give players too much reign when it comes to initiative, it can get into delaying the combat. So the option for a little bit more rigid structure is welcomed here.
So basically, Daggerheart trusts players to manage a spotlight organically.
And next up, we're going to talk about how Daggerheart handles moves and action rolls. In D&D 5e, you roll a D20 and add modifiers. Pretty simple, right?
Daggerheart uses that duality dice system. 2 D12s named Hope and Fear. Both roll, add modifiers, and here's the twist. Whichever dice is higher dramatically affects the story.
Yeah, rolling higher on your hope die gives you extra benefits, even if you fail your roll. But if fear wins, you might succeed with complications or hand the GM narrative power.
It's pretty cool. And this is pretty awesome because even failure matters narratively. Unlike D&D, where rolling low usually just means oops, nothing happens, Daggerheart's system opens creativity for the players and for the DM very organically, where every roll actively changes the scene. So you do gain hope when the hope die wins. You can spend that for bonuses on your character or assisting allies or teaming up using tag team rolls, which honestly you started to do in D&D a little bit. It's not made for it, but like in Baldur's Gate 3, you can do that if you have the same initiative and do some pretty fun stuff. So I like that it's built into the system.
Absolutely. And fear is going to be gained by the GM when your fear die wins. That gives the GM narrative ammo to throw complications or powerful adversary actions at you.
It is kind of like giving your DM inspiration dice constantly, but they get to spend it on drama, danger, and chaos.
DMs will absolutely love this, but players will be getting rewarded too, so it's a good balance. The Hope system genuinely feels like it empowers and encourages teamwork more dynamically than the inspiration of 5e.
Yeah, which can fall flat sometimes.
I agree.
Next up, damage and health. Unlike 5e, sometimes headache-inducing hit point mathematic calculations, Daggerheart uses a threshold system with minor, major, and severe damage, meaning the number of hit points you lose depends on how severe the damage is.
And there's also stress, a mental health system that acts like secondary hit points. It can be used to power abilities or avoid bad outcomes, adding a layer of risk-reward.
I do personally love this edition because it reflects the mental toll of adventuring, something 5e kind of like glosses over, and you have to find usually some kind of extra modules or a Cthulhu-inspired supplement to kind of get that effect.
That dread, yeah. And in Daggerheart, armor is going to actually reduce damage severity directly, unlike the 5e AC mechanic. Combat's going to feel more impactful and tactical, even without that strict action economy.
Yeah, and this is interesting because usually AC, once your stuff is on your sheet in D&D, it's kind of there and you can more or less avoid it, right, unless you describe something. But here you actually have to think about when you want to expend your armor or with big hits coming in, how are you going to deal with that?
And now we move on to death.
5e uses death saving throws. Daggerheart makes it narrative with death moves, which can lead to heroic sacrifices or dramatic escapes at a cost.
Absolutely epic. When facing death, you can risk everything, choosing between a blaze of glory or risking survival with permanent scars.
It's pretty awesome, actually. Blaze of Glory, you die anyway, but you just go down fighting. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
And you don't need your DM to really rule cool all this stuff because it's there for you in the system.
And in D&D, dying feels mechanical. Here, it's more dramatic, a storytelling point. Your character's death or near death is a powerful moment. It's not just a bad roll.
And finally, let's talk about difficulty. Unlike the rigid DC or difficulty classes of 5e skill checks, Daggerheart's difficulty is highly flexible and narrative driven, scaling from simple, around 5, to nearly impossible, which is 30 or more.
And if you're unsure, Daggerheart even gives GMs the chance to make a quick difficulty roll for NPCs, rolling that handy D20 to set a dynamic difficulty on the fly.
The flexibility means less prep for GMs, and you can confidently improvise obstacles because the difficulty scale is intuitive and pretty narrative friendly.
I really appreciate how Daggerheart is pivoting the GM role from referee to an active storyteller. You constantly are interacting with players through dynamic narrative moves and not just static rule enforcement. So, what do we think of Daggerheart overall? Well, obviously, we're pretty into this new system. I am really excited to try it out at our table sometime soon because new systems are always going to be pushing what we can do in this space. I think it's important, especially right now. Honestly, we've been playing D&D for a long time, but Wizards of the Coast has made some not great decisions over the last couple years. And we love Critical Role, and we know all of you love Critical Role, and we want to support this incredible group of storytellers. And I think that it's a good time to start to try to pivot a little bit and see if this is something that we want to stick with long term.
And I'm also really looking forward to trying out Daggerheart because I think a lot of things Daggerheart is bringing to the table are things that we kind of already do for D&D, but really have to homebrew and crank out things that don't really work for D&D, such as making rolls more narrative or making the modifiers on your stats a lot more simplified and really expanding the possibilities of your classes where it's not so strict in D&D. Sometimes we add pieces and parts from other classes, and I really want to try how all that works holistically with Daggerheart. I'm excited to play it as a DM and as a player.
If you want to see more Daggerheart content, let us know in the comments down below. Again, we're possibly going to be trying out soon for a campaign. And more importantly, if you want to see more detailed instructions on how to play the game, we're willing to do some more videos like this.
Yeah, we've been scrubbing through the book. It looks fun, a lot of art, and we really want to bring more to the community. But you have to let us know. Leave a comment below, like, subscribe, so we can hear what you want, and we'll try to take it from there.
If you are excited about collaborative storytelling and dynamic adventures, I think Daggerheart is going to be the next TTRPG that's going to light your world on fire.
So thank you everybody for watching this video, and happy tabletop gaming!